Do you want to sign up for an online dating site but question everything in your profile? Do you have that first coffee or glass of wine scheduled, but you're staring into your closet wondering what you should wear? Well, today I'm talking with Sara Griot, who is not only a fabulous stylist that you can hire to help you, but also a woman who has become a bit of an online dating profile expert. Nothing official. And usually she only does this for her family and friends. But I wanted to bring Sara on today so that she can share what she has learned with all of you. Welcome, Sara. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Sharri. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, tell everyone a bit about what you do like for your real job.
Okay. So I am a clothing designer. My background is clothing design and turned style strategist. And I help women rediscover their style for impact, visibility, and confidence.
Love it. Love it. Yes. And, all you midlife women who are looking for a transition into your next chapter, that often means you're leaving behind the corporate outfit and maybe now have to transition to something different, or, empty nest. No longer do you have to wear those yoga pants 24/7. So very fun. But how did you become this amateur dating profile?
Well, just from first of all, I'm no expert. I'm not a dating expert. I'm just have lots of experience from being single and navigating different dating sites and doing it wrong for a long time, I think, and then getting help and really it was just the help. The help helped, but it was really listening to different podcasts about dating, doing different seminars. I mean, I was really interested more in relationships, and then the dating part of it didn't really intimidate me, like getting online. But I did talk to friends. And it was often friends of friends who had, bad experiences or were afraid to get online. And I and asked for my help, and also kind of what to wear on a first date, or where to go, all of that. And this, again, is just from my experience, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what I think, what works in a profile, what you're writing versus, what women write is really different from what men write. And I think men.
Talk about that difference.
Men look at the pictures and they're very visual. And so the pictures have to be pretty, I think, representative of who you are.
Okay, hold off talking about photos, because we're going to do a whole section.
Okay.
We talk about the profile. We're going to hop into the photos, because I think it's really important. And it also has to do with what you're wearing in your photos.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So jump to the profile itself. Our men's profile, do you find, because women, if you're heterosexual, you're looking at men's profiles. What's different about the male profile versus a female profile?
I don't think they have, the pictures aren't very good. Some of them are pictures in their bathroom, like a selfie. I think they put way less emphasis on that. And often they'll, their profile's also pretty brief.
Okay.
But women, and it's all what you're attracted to. If that doesn't matter to you as a woman looking at a man's profile, they're also looking at the pictures, but there's other things I think that are considered. And
would you say keep the profile shorter rather than longer as a woman?
I think either way. I mean, I've certainly read men's profiles that are 5 paragraphs long. Well, actually, I stopped reading because it's way too much information. But I think I was told one time a man likes to read about as long a paragraph as your thumb. So, in other words, they have a short attention span as far as reading what's on there. It's more about the attraction to the photo, the energy in the photo. If they're wearing clothes that appeal to them, if they're smiling, that the photos are current. I think I can kind of tell when I've looked at profiles enough to know when somebody's figured out how to say the right things, I guess. And it's but it's concise, but gets to the point. And if you want me to talk about like things I learned from
profile writing. Yeah.
Do you mind? What?
If you can talk about profile writing, let's do that first. Because I think I have a few photos also that I want to show, hopefully. But let's hop into the actual profile itself. Should it usually be 2 paragraphs? Is there a structure? Like some of them that you and I talked about, when you and I dreamed up this particular podcast, the first paragraph was about the woman to some extent, you yourself. And the second paragraph was kind of what you were looking for. Would you stick to that or not?
It just depends. I think I sent you my friend's profile that was just very brief. And
are you talking about Quinn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to flip. I'll share the screen so that you can all see this. See Quinn's. But yes, talk about it if you don't mind.
And I think that her profile was on Bumble or Hinge, and Tinder have very short. You can't write 2 paragraphs.
Okay,
it's a very brief summary of who you are.
Okay,
and if you don't mind me, can I mention dating coach's name?
Sure. Absolutely.
So Evan Marquez, who you had,
which
I've listened to him for years, and also Madeline Charles. I think they're both amazing, and but they're different, and it's really nice to hear a man's perspective.
Yeah.
And just bluntly say, don't do this. And he always says, don't put a lot of adjectives in your profile, and instead kind of tell the story. Somehow tell it in a story, so you can it creates an image more than saying I'm nice, I'm loyal, I'm energetic, I like to be outside. Instead, it's I love the outdoors. And then like the one profile we worked on, some of my favorite places are blah blah blah.
You want to go to Martha's as an example? So just those of you who can see this, this is Martha's first profile. My friends would describe me as fun, outdoorsy, in parentheses, or I love to hike, energetic, always up for activities, kind, extremely loyal to my friends and family, and a woman of faith. So lots of adjectives there, right? And then, I love the out of doors, especially hiking or walking, or really just being outside in nature. Can be walking around the beautiful lakes of Minneapolis or hiking in the mountains of Switzerland, wherever the beauty of nature inspires me. You love that phrase. Yes, I do love to travel, mostly in the USA and Europe, with activities ranging from tent camping in Grand Marais, Minnesota, to enjoying the sights in the Lake District of Northern Italy or Thailand, which is, she's going, obviously, the fall of 2022. And then she goes into what she's looking for. So let's just quickly, here's her updated profile and talk about what you did here, if you don't mind, Sara.
Well, I'm rereading this. I just shortened it because I felt like the way, first of all, there's nothing wrong with her profile. Right. But I think it's just more to the point here about what is important to her. I don't think she needs to say twice that faith is important to her. I think you just need to mention that one time. And saying that it's a kindred spirit who values kindness, intelligence, honesty, and a shared faith would, obviously means that describes her as well. So,
but it's interesting, Sara, because that's a very welcoming phrase. It's almost pulling the other person in with her.
Yes.
Versus I am kind, I am intelligent, I am honest. Not that Martha said it that way, but in comparison, rather than just adjectives. Yeah.
Like a resume more than, and that's the whole thing about what I think is, and I was attracted to that in profiles, is just having the picture painted for me. Like I could imagine a life or doing these things with this person, or it's just, I remember reading a profile once and he described himself, but then he wrote at the end, blah, 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 meaning this was not, it felt like that was not that everybody says that. So, I like to hike. I like to be on the water. I like to animals, whatever it is. That I felt that was not, I didn't think that was a smart thing to put in there, at least for me.
Yeah. You reacted.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you reacted to that in a negative way, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it just felt like I have to do this. So I'm putting this down, and I immediately it turned me off. So I don't know Martha, so it's hard to fill in other things that she likes to do. I got from her profile that she likes to be with her family, I don't know if she likes to cook, and that doesn't matter. It's whatever she likes to do. But it seemed to me that the most important thing to her was being outdoors and gatherings with her family.
Yeah.
And is looking for somebody that's, and traveling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So 3 things that would stand out to me that I felt like she should just, and she doesn't, I think what people think, and I'm including myself in this, is that we have to say everything about ourselves.
Yeah.
And you had a question. I don't know if you want me to get into this yet, though.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
About what you weren't. Like you said to me, but I don't hike. I don't run marathons. And it's like,
I'm overweight. Yeah.
But think of all, I mean, you're not going to say that in your, right. But you're also not going to say I'm not any of these things, because you have to, all the things you do have are amazing. And that's what you need to say. And whoever, I mean, that's authentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you say, like I would often, I think, I live in the Northwest, so lots of people ski.
Mm-hmm.
I ski, but I don't love skiing. And I would somehow get drawn into, thinking, oh, well, maybe I'll ski once in a while. If you match with someone whose life has an epic pass and goes skiing, 100 days a year. And I realized, okay, this is not for me. I don't like the cold weather. I did it when my kids were young. I no longer want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would do it a couple times a year, but I'm not. I just had to figure out what really I wanted to do, or really what was important to me.
Sara, this is the crux of really online dating, and I just recently had a podcast with Evan Marquette.
I listened to it.
it was, thank you. It was one of those, that was a point he made, which I thought was really interesting. And I don't know that men do this, and it really is irrelevant to this conversation, but women do. And Martha happens to be a good friend of mine. And so I see it just recently with her where, someone, I'm going to go backwards and say, when we write our profiles, sometimes there's a desire to not exclude anyone that could potentially be quote unquote Mr. Right. So maybe I can ski more, because if I find the perfect guy and he skis all the time, we're going to hang out, and now I'm going to become a skier, or I'm going to become a pickleball player, or I'm going to go to theater, once a week, or whatever it might be. But at its core, the feeling that's driving what I write in my profile is what we need to analyze. And if it's, I want to appeal to the most number of men, now I'm going to put all kinds of things in there that may or may not be true. If I want to find the person that's right for me, I have to be willing. And that's what Evan Mark Katz talked about. I have to be willing to accept that not everyone is my cup of tea, so to speak.
Right.
And I only want that small little segment of men that I want to be with, that fit me, that I don't have to change for.
Right. And like my friend was always saying to me, you only need one. I think we feel that there's a scarcity. Like I'm guilty.
Well, there
of
is
this.
a scarcity. I mean, let's be real here.
But there are lots of men, Sharri. There's lots of men, and maybe what I found I was doing wrong is I had, and I think this is what a lot of people do, men and women, they have an image in their mind of who this person's going to be, what they're going to look like. Like Evan Mark Katz says, he's going to like all this, his name being brought up, is, the best looking guy on the site is getting, everyone is writing to him, or, he's got his pick of whoever he wants. But there's other men who are the good men who could be the good men that aren't as tall as you want them to be, or as athletic as you want them to be, whatever it is you want them, whatever's on your list. Mm-hmm. But I started doing that more instead of, I do look at profiles because I like to know about someone and kind of their energy. And if their pictures weren't like exactly like someone I envisioned, I would respond to them. And I was so pleasantly surprised in so many situations. I can probably think of 4 or 5 where their pictures did nothing for them. And in person and animated and just who they were was so much better. And that's true, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah. And I just changed the way of looking at it, like that. Maybe this isn't going to look the way you expected it to look, but maybe there's other things that we're looking at. We can't help but we're looking at their pictures. So oh shoot.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Don't worry.
There you are. It's a visceral reaction, I guess. Yeah, and so, but I think a lot of, like he says, like everybody says, where are you? There you are. Everybody is going after the same person, and there's lots and lots of choices.
Right.
Like I said, when you say there is a scarcity, I mean, I don't know. I think there's the scarcity of maybe exactly what you're looking for is probably true. but I think that there's a lot of men that need to be, you know, that should be overlooked.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, two things that you just said, make me think of something more. And that is often, and when we all think about this, we will find a person very, very attractive when we're actually with them, their energy. So when I look at a photograph, you know, even in a magazine, and I see models, you know, male models as an example, I'm heterosexual, you know, that I think are really, really handsome. You know, they might just open their mouths and start to talk to me, and immediately, you know, I'm walking away, as an example. And vice versa. There can be someone who has incredible energy, incredible way of communicating and talking about things that really connects with me. And suddenly there's chemistry between the two of us that may not have been apparent when I actually looked at their photographs online. So there's so much more to a person than just a two-dimensional photograph. You know?
I mean, I can think of this one situation I was in. It was a couple of years ago, and I was at an event, and I was sitting next to someone I didn't know, a man, and I would never have, if I saw a picture of him, I never would have probably been interested in him. But by the end of the night, he was so engaging and so interesting, and he traveled, and his personality was changed everything.
Yeah.
You kind of just stop seeing the things that you notice at the beginning, like he's bald, he's, you know, he's overweight, he's
whatever. Yeah.
All that stuff. He's very interesting. And I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. But also now, when you talk about the stories we create in our profiles, when I look at the Martha's updated profile, and as an example of that second paragraph, you know, I'm inspired by the beauty of nature and spend time outdoors when I can. I especially enjoy walking around the beautiful lakes of Minneapolis or hiking the mountains of Switzerland, wherever I feel compelled to explore. I'm getting drawn into Martha's story.
Right.
If Martha and I, if I was a man, if Martha and I are kindred spirits, if Martha and I are not kindred spirits, that story isn't appealing to me any more than, you know, a Dr. Seuss book. But so what that story, though, and why stories are so important, is that is actually what is going to draw the right people to you, is people who can see themselves in your story. Does that make sense? Is that true?
No, it's exactly true. I mean, if someone describes their life or what they do, and it's something you know you're never going to want to do, or he drives a motorcycle and he likes to go on, you know, cross-country trips on a motorcycle, that's something I would never be interested in doing. And so even if you can think to yourself, well, you know, he could go do it by himself, and then maybe I can, you know, meet him wherever he's going. It's just move, you know, just
move on.
Move on.
Move on.
Yeah. So I think I had something to say. The Martha's profile, I think that
the first one.
I like this. Sorry.
The one she submitted to me?
No, just in general, this, you know, I think somebody would be very clear on what she's looking for and what she likes to do. I think she just needs to update her photographs.
Okay. But before we leave the profile, because we're going to also talk about Quinn, because I thought that was a very interesting profile. And I don't know if it's complete even.
That's the complete profile. But that was, okay. And it was.
Before we leave Martha, should you say, because I recently had breakfast with Martha, and we actually talked about the fact that we do want to get married again. And should you talk about however you envision a relationship, whether it be something, as she's saying, a potential partner, or should you say, I'm looking for marriage, or I'm looking for a long-term commitment, or or should you just keep it easy breezy, in your profile?
In your profile, I don't think, well, I mean, depending on which platform you're on, they often have like, Bumble has, actually a category of what are you looking for? I don't know how they phrase it, but, and they give you options like something casual, relationship, marriage. And so, up front, if somebody says something casual, I'm not interested in something casual. I'm interested in a committed relationship, marriage. I don't think there's anything wrong with putting that. But if you're writing it, I mean, you could somehow write, having a partner to share them with, like you're looking for someone to share your life. And sometimes it just depends on the person, whether that means long-term commitment or if it means, marriage.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if I can find Quinn. Here is Quinn. This was surprising. And what's even more surprising is she found somebody and she got married. Correct?
Yeah, well, she's gorgeous.
Okay.
And she is very smart. You would never, by looking at that, you wouldn't think that, would you?
No.
I mean, when I read it, I was shocked because I've known her for 25 years.
Yeah.
And she was recently divorced. I mean, it looks like 5 years ago.
Okay.
But she is very, she's a straight shooter, I guess. And so, but I don't get the mess around, the messing around part, I guess.
Yep.
It was a funny way to put it. And so she got lots and lots of interest. Like, and then she met someone and they were together. They moved in together within months and they're now married. It's been 4 years.
Wow. Well, one thing I did like about her original profile was I've done the work to be happy,
right,
as I am. And you mentioned in one of our previous conversations about, I think it was a man's profile who also said he had done the work. And that's really an interesting way of communicating. You don't want someone to come in with a whole lot of unresolved issues from his previous marriage, whether it was, I've been in a date where a man talked about his wife who passed away.
Have I.
Throughout the whole date. It's not even a date. I felt like a therapist.
I know.
Or they're complaining about their ex-wife. And so I loved that phrase. Not, I am no expert. I mean, you can count on one hand how many dates I've had in the last 10 years. No, I've been divorced, almost 10. So, okay. So let's look at let's see what she came up with. Whoops, story. Somewhere along the way. Here we are. Let me get back to this. That's actually yours, but we're not going to talk about that. Why am I struggling?
I don't know, because it's technology.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to the next one. I want to talk about yours because, that's why. Let's go back to Quinn's updated profile. So you worked on her profile. I keep moving our faces around.
Oh yeah, this is her new one. Okay. And this describes her perfectly. I know her well. I talked to her. In fact, I'm talking to her later this afternoon. And she talks about flaws and baggage all the time. She's an ontological coach. Okay. And so they deal with, it's reality at this point in your life that you've got baggage. And I think that when that guy wrote that, I've done the work. Hopefully you have too. Yeah. I thought that was really, for one thing, he's self-reflective, and that's very important. To me, that's very important in a partner. Someone who's willing to see that they're human and that they make mistakes and they do things wrong. And doesn't mean it's the end of the relationship. It just means there's, you have to take somebody. Nothing's perfect.
No. And also, as I always say, there's two people in the relationship, and rarely did one person have nothing to do with why the relationship failed.
Right.
And no matter how sad you are that your marriage ended, or you might be happy, recognize that there was an element of it that was your responsibility also, and recognizing what that is and what I needed to change. What I always say,
definitely.
What did I do to create the marriage that I created that happened to end? But here she talks about, which I think is really interesting when you redid this, I'm looking for a strong man. That's a very interesting phrase, who has raised kids and that's willing to accept his imperfections and be comfortable with them. That's really, to me, it is very direct. It's, I don't want a wimp. Is that the opposite? I don't want a wimp.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody who abandoned their children.
Right. And I think she means strong. You're talking I don't think she means strong, like physically strong. She means mentally strong.
Right. Yeah.
And the man that she married, if you want to hear this, is completely polar opposite of her ex-husband, and is someone she never probably would have thought she would never pick. But their energy together and how good he is to her, and which wasn't the case when she was married. Not that he was bad to her. It wasn't that, wasn't what she has now. And, sometimes you don't even realize that you're missing that until you have it. I think she was pretty clear on what she wanted and how she wanted to feel around somebody, because she was very clear how empty she was in her marriage. So, she says, he's 30 pounds overweight. Sometimes she calls them gremlins. The gremlin gets in my head and I say, oh my God, he's 30 pounds overweight. And then he turns around, he smiles, or just who he is as a person is, just makes all that go away.
Yeah.
Anyway, I even though that I thought that profile was a little, I don't know, I said crass.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the kind of man she attracted. And maybe I don't know. I didn't meet any of them. I know her husband, but I don't, that's might be what she likes, is that type of man. So
strong. Yeah. But again, you're making it very clear that as you sit down and it's the same thing. I like how, as an ex-career coach, I love that you talked about it in a way. It's a resume, but you're a grown-up. You're not at the beginning of your career. You're a grown-up. Right. So it's really knowing yourself and knowing not only yourself, but what it is that you want, what kind of a relationship you want, and what you want to do together will allow you to write a profile versus how do I write this profile so that I get the most number of interested people?
Right. Right. And I think it's really also how someone makes you feel. I mean, you might, like I said, have traits that you're looking for and a checklist. But it's really, you have to think about, how do I feel this person? And I think that was my biggest aha moment was, stop looking at the packaging and the kind of type that I had always ended up with, and start thinking about how you feel when they're around them. And that easily changed my perspective, I think.
Very
so,
good. Very, when I think of, when I began wanting to, or thinking about online dating again, my ex-husband, I think yours was too, was a CEO. And so I wanted a degree of success. And yet when I really actually thought about it, he wasn't present for me. I was an accessory in many ways, even though we had been married for 25 years. And I'm not disparaging CEOs. My son is a CEO, but it's really a lot about the job. The job is
and them.
Yeah, their job there, and it becomes a rather insular position where people don't tell you, as I used to say to my ex-husband, your jokes aren't funny, and I don't know, that's a bad idea. You lose that. It's really hard to get to that place and not lose that, actually. And so is somebody, so in conversation about what you said I've been attracted to in the past, do I want a repeat? Do I want to take the ex-husband and now make him a really self-aware person and really, also very giving in a relationship? I think that's an impossibility. That's taking the tiger and saying, I want to erase the stripes and put spots on. And it doesn't happen. And so I love your comment. How do I want to feel in this relationship? Because it's very different than when we're 25 years old.
And your chemistry. And for a long time, I don't know how much you want me to interject about my experience, but I'll just tell you this. For the longest time, I thought chemistry was like that fireworks when you meet somebody and there's instant compatibility and there's just some electricity. And I realized that was danger for me. Like that was not, that person was not right for me at all. And so if I felt that, I had to stop, think, what, they have no time.
Yeah.
They don't communicate.
Right.
It's very successful. But all the stuff that comes along with that, it's just, I've done that and I don't want to do that. I would advise anyone who listens to this to give someone more than one chance. I mean, if you like someone, but you don't feel the chemistry or you don't feel anything, I'd say, give him, and he's a nice guy. I mean, if you have a horrible time, it's different. But if you don't have those overwhelming feelings, which I think, and I've heard it from the podcast I listen to, that's not really a good indicator that someone's a good partner. And it's surprising how things, you miss things on the first date because sometimes people are so nervous.
Yeah.
I had a man, I think I told you this, that asked me if we could have a do-over because he was so nervous. He felt like he didn't, his personality, he didn't get to be who he was. So I said, yeah, you can have a do-over. So, I just think, and I think that it's just how we're wired to go. You're going to go from your dad to your husband to whoever. For me, whoever came after was just like, it was like different clothing, same personality.
Yeah. It's
same issues.
Yeah. It's really interesting. And for those of you, I will just share something for those of you who, because I was uncomfortable with online dating. And so I went with a matchmaking service. You'll absolutely laugh. And I thought, oh, this will be fantastic. We had an hour and a half conversation and I told him all about myself and what I was looking for and a bit about my history and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, this is going to be fantastic. The first date, so I live in Paris half the year. The first date was a guy that did not have a passport and had no desire to have a passport. And the second date, now these were all Zoom calls because it was during COVID. And the second date, the guy was my cousin. So
I know what the matchmaker used, and I had the same experience.
So if you have some idea in your head that the matchmaker is going to be your answer, really reconsider, because the profile, you have control over your profile. You do not have control over who a matchmaker matches you with. You actually are relinquishing control. So,
right. And you have control to say yes or no to someone online. It's, there's no, you're not committed to doing anything. And right. I think You just have to stick your toe out there, and it's not that scary
Yeah.
to do. I mean, I think women are scared about that, but
part of it is a fear of rejection.
You're going to get that.
Yeah, I had a friend recently who just loved this guy's profile. He liked her. She was all excited, and then he, I don't know,
Ghosted her.
Words. Yeah, ghosted her, or unliked her, or whatever the proper phrase is. And after she responded to the man via texting or email or whatever it was, and she felt very rejected. And I said, and I only can say this because of the podcast I did with Evan Mark Katz, you got rid of a dud.
Yeah. He's not your guy.
Any time on him,
Yeah. He's just not your guy.
He's not your guy. Okay. So let's say you do connect, and now it's time to meet that person in person. First of all, when would you meet somebody in person? How many conversations would you have via email or text messages or even by phone before you actually meet somebody in person? Or is there a wide cross?
This is, again, my personal opinion. I don't like phone calls. I mean, I would cut to the chase, I guess, and would want to meet somebody. After a few email exchanges back and forth, you kind of stop running out of clever things to say or to talk about, like how, you talked about your trip in your profile. Tell me more about it. And then I like people and I like talking to them. And so I would, if I felt that I wanted to meet them, usually they initiated that. Not always, though. I certainly have said, okay, too many, I didn't say this, but too many emails. I don't want to pen pal. Let's meet, because if we're not compatible, this is a lot of time going back and forth. And
okay, so let's talk about what to wear, and I'm going to share a screen because you gave us some really good ideas of things to wear, because it's not so simple. Hold on. We're back to technology. So first date, coffee and a walk. Why?
This threw me the first time somebody wanted to walk and have coffee. First of all, most of my first dates, I like to go to happy hour or something that's more relaxing. Okay. To me, in a coffee shop. But I have, since COVID, when I was dating, I did more walking. But then it's like, what do you wear? Because you're trying to impress somebody. You want to give a good impression. And tennis shoes, if he's not aware that tennis shoes are like what everybody wears now, the style, then you kind of look like you're dressed down. Mm-hmm. But you also want to be so comfortable. You want whatever you're wearing, you need to feel amazing in it. I think I had a kind of a uniform that I would wear on first dates. If it was happy hour, this is what I would wear.
Well, let's go through some of these, because I think it's so this is the walk, and this is, what is this?
Coffee or happy hour.
Okay.
I have those same shoes. I wore those shoes all the time, but I mean, jeans and a jacket, but my go-to is usually a blazer, but not structured, so that you're looking like a corporate woman. That's what the jeans kind of
cut it,
relax it. And I have a friend who's actually a dating coach, and she's given me lots of good advice. And she always said, wear a dress on the first date. And I said, I'm in Seattle and it's pouring rain. I don't want to put a dress on and go. That to me is over, unless you're going out to dinner. That's different. Then you might do that. But you don't usually have. I've had dinner dates for a first date, and it's nice because you have more time to talk. Sure. But sometimes, I had a couple of dinner dates that I wish I'd never set them up. I wish they had been brief and could be on my way.
Right.
But none of it killed me. It just was, it's my time.
Right. So talk about, be comfortable, something that you feel really fabulous in. I also, you and I had some conversations about this before.
There's a turtleneck.
There's a turtleneck. We were talking about turtlenecks, everyone, before I got on this call. When I wear a turtleneck, it emphasizes my double chin.
That's a soft turtleneck, though. It's it's kind of a cow neck. So,
but you made the comment to me in our pre-conversation. Be aware of the fact that unless you're going for a walk or a hike, most of the visual is from the waist up, and therefore, what's going on here is incredibly important. And so sometimes, the earrings or the necklace that you wear are what's going to bring light to your face. And
a neckline, a V neckline, or an open, a soft fabric is very nice. And that you wouldn't wear a turtleneck on your first date, unless it's, like I said, something softer. But if you did wear a turtleneck, you'd emphasize your earrings, like these earrings. And then you want the attention to be in your face, in your neck area, and your energy. And if you wear makeup, a great lipstick is always good. And
whenever
I think soft fabrics are really nice because I think they're
feminine. What fabrics?
Soft, flowy fabrics are nice because it's more feminine. Unless you're not at all, then you just would wear, again, what you're comfortable in. But this is what you're going to meet someone and you want to appeal to them. You want them to be attracted to you and vice versa. Mm-hmm. I'm always impressed when I've had men show up in a sport coat and, really dressed up. And I thought, well, that makes you feel great that somebody took the time to do that, or they want to impress you too. So I've been in a date where I'm overdressed. And one time I actually went and I was underdressed and I was mortified because he was in a different sport coat and khaki pants, and I was in jeans and a dressy top and a jacket, but he was way more
elegantly dressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I think of turtlenecks, though, it's very interesting, the way we as women look at turtlenecks and the way men look at turtlenecks.
Love them.
Yeah. We love them because they keep our necks warm. In France, though, in Paris, I will rarely ever see a woman in a turtleneck.
Really?
They use scarves. Men and women will use scarves to keep their necks warm in Paris, rather than, you don't see many turtlenecks. And I always think of, what was that movie with Diane Keaton?
Something's got to give. I was gonna quote her because she has another good line in there.
Yeah.
But
when Jack Nicholson says, "What's with the turtlenecks?"
I like turtlenecks, and I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it
was summertime though, so I don't usually wear turtlenecks in the summer.
What's with the turtlenecks? That's funny. So if it's a dinner date, but let's talk about the date, because I asked you this question before and I've thought about it and I'm like, really? So I'm going to push back a little bit. Do the men always pay?
My friend told me once a long time ago that I would say, at one point I was saying, do you want me to split it with you? And then I would feel like if he let me split it with him, then that bothered me, because I always feel like if they invited you, the rule is there's no rule actually, but what I've learned is, because I've said to men, can I pay for half? And they said, I invited you, I pay. You can plan the next date and you can pay for that. And that's fine with me. But I have paid for half. And a lot of times I'll do that because I have no connection and I don't want to feel like he paid for something and I'm never going to see him again. Yeah. So my friend said, why do you ask? If you want him to pay, why are you asking? Can I pay for half? And I said, I don't know, because it's polite. And she said, just try it. So I did. And every time they've paid. So,
okay.
I mean, I think it's just an expectation that men have, especially men
Our age.
over 50 years old, that, they have that. I think it's really different for like my kids' age. They probably, I don't know, but they would probably split it. It would be different.
Right.
But it's I guess it's what your expectation is. And to me, it's not about the money. It's about the manners. It's about, the caretaking part which is something that's really important to me.
Yeah. But what I find, let's go back to the close and then we'll talk a little bit more about the process, so to speak. But everything from a top standpoint, a blouse standpoint, or whatever, is a little bit sexy.
Yeah, softer.
Yeah, softer.
That's not. That one is. It's just more feminine.
The velvet coat. Yeah, that's
my way of. I love skirts, but that's not and I love wearing dresses, but I don't wear them. I wear pants, jeans way more often, and that's what I feel confident walking in. So the way to kind of make up for black jeans is a softer top. And again, that's what he's looking at is everything that's right across the table from him.
Right.
Even on a coffee date. And then on the coffee date, you have to the thought is, you don't want to be overdressed because I'm in the Northwest, probably not in Boston or Paris. There's a lot of polar fleece, men are wearing polar fleece and during the day, and they're not making a huge effort if it's a daytime event. And so you don't want to be dressed to the nines. And I mean, I don't mind being overdressed, but there's appropriate clothing, I guess. I hate that word appropriate, but clothing that would be better suited for daytime coffee than dress. You're not going to go waltzing in a dress and high heels unless you're coming from work. And
yeah, you're absolutely right. But let's get into the nitty gritty of the actual meetup, if you want to call it that.
Okay.
You made a comment to me that you rarely ever arrive first. Is that true?
Yeah.
And why?
I don't know. Well, I just because I have, gotten there first, but usually, but what happens is in general, men get there early. Sometimes a half an hour early, 15 minutes early. I have a table, I'm in the back. And then I just can walk in, I guess. I like to be standing or walking in versus sitting. And I stand, of course, when he comes in, but it's just my comfort level. Yeah. And everybody is different. I've gotten to places early just to see who's going to get out, who I think is probably the person, and I don't know why, because I've never been tricked. I've never had somebody catfish me and be a completely different person. But
so you sit in your car when
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if it's possible to even see where they're coming from. And I've had situations where I thought, oh, please don't let that be him. And it was him. But then, I have a nice time with them. It's not.
Sure.
And I think, I remember meeting somebody for a drink and I was there early and I could see the entrance when he was coming in and I could sit in a place that I felt comfortable sitting. And I remember sitting at a bar with someone. It was a restaurant, but we were in the bar part of the restaurant and we were both sitting facing forward and it was the most awkward seating. I mean, you had to keep turning to talk and the comfort level wasn't there at all, just because it's a high bar stool and
those are hard,
really hard. My neck was killing me.
You're sitting, next to each other versus facing each other, if that makes any sense. And it doesn't matter who you're out for dinner with. If you're at the bar, especially, I get up on one of those high bar stools and it's pretty hard to elegantly get off one of
Yeah.
those bar
Right.
stools. And
Or
if
just keep your posture, keep your, feel like you start kind of slumping down, and it's just because you're tired of holding yourself up. And so anyway, that's just me. I used to get to class early so that I could kind of scan the room, I guess, figure out where to sit, the best place to sit. But I guess I maybe it's something I adopted later on, where I would come in afterwards. So
do you at all dictate where you meet? So for instance, you're in Seattle, I'm in Boston or I'm in Paris. I don't want to travel from Boston to Marlborough as an example to meet somebody for coffee. I really don't. Do you dictate that a little bit? And let's say he's in Marlborough, or I don't know what a suburb of Seattle would be, but they're further away. Do you say, is there any way we could meet closer in, or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or I find that most men, my experience is they're pretty accommodating. I mean, some of them will come right to my neighborhood and say, what's a good, you'll have to name a place because I don't know the area. Sure. Or they'll say, can we meet halfway? Or
right.
I think that and they want you to, I mean, in my experience,
yes,
they want you to feel comfortable.
Okay.
And and not in a place, in a public place. And I've never, and I've been on a lot of dates, I've never ever felt afraid or threatened.
Do you give them your name, your full name?
Not on the first date, no.
No.
It never gets to that. I mean, it never gets to, he knows my name and I know his name. And then we usually, if we haven't exchanged phone numbers, we do that then. Or if we're going to see each other again, maybe, ideally if you like them, you set up something that night or that day and see them again. But I've sometimes they don't, but I have to say, I've had certain people give me their full name, men give me their full name so that I can Google them. Okay. So I'll feel comfortable. Okay. And I can Google people. I've gotten really good at it without the last name.
Yeah.
Just by what they do, what area they live in. And so I had someone do that to me from my phone number.
Wow. Well, you're in the middle of tech heaven there. So they know how to find you no matter what. But it's important to stay safe in that process, in whatever online dating process you have. And so leaving your first name, but not your last name, meeting someplace other than, if someone was to suggest their home or your home, never. I can see it in your face. Never. No. Is a red flag right there.
I would never do that because I don't want, if I've never met somebody before, I think that's kind of that I've been asked to come to their house. It's just casual. We'll have a cocktail. And he probably had no malintent. I knew him from years ago. And, but I thought it'd be so awkward, mostly just awkward. And I think it's just easier, especially if you could meet someone and be completely repelled by them and if you're at their house,
right.
A lot harder to sneak out.
It's not safe. It really isn't safe when you think, and that's important. I don't care what ages we are.
Right.
Is always important. And if you don't drive, take an Uber, have it arranged so that you can easily get your Uber or your Lyft on the way home rather than getting in a car with somebody else, or being beholden to somebody to get you back.
Oh, yeah. I always meet somebody. I never have had anyone pick me up. After a few dates, I've had somebody pick me up, but that's even an unusual.
Okay.
Thing that happens. I kind of, when I've been asked, I think, oh God, we did used to get picked up to go on dates, and it's kind of nice. It's actually kind of nice, but I think it has to be after a couple of dates. And I don't know, there's no rule to that. It's what you feel comfortable with. I just like having control of when I can leave. If the situation changes, I've certainly met somebody and gone out with them again and kind of changed my feeling and thought, I just want to leave. I want to go home now. And I didn't say that, but I ended the evening and went home.
Yeah. Yeah. So in closing, you sound like you've had experience with a number of different platforms, if you want to call it that. What do you like these days? Is it Match? Is it, I don't even know. You mentioned a couple I've never heard of. So.
Oh, well, and I like Match, and Mark Katz will tell you Match, because people actually have to write, and they have a lot of questions that they have to answer, like their status, and so I love Match and Bumble. Okay. I didn't think I would like Bumble, and Hinge is kind of like Bumble, and Tinder to me, how it started was kind of a hookup site, and I think there's people that our age that have met Matches. It's just a different setup. I like to know. I want to see their writing skill, a little bit of I want someone who has to elaborate a little bit about their life. And Match is, I think, both. The reason Bumble is good is because the woman controls. Men can swipe. When you swipe right, you like someone, and they can swipe right. And then they have to wait to see if you respond to them. There's nothing else they can do. So if you never respond to them, and I've listened to a podcast, and Evan was saying, this guy's sitting at the dinner table or sitting, on a flight or wherever he is, and he's swiping on every single attractive woman he sees, and he has no idea anything. He's just saying, who writes him back? Yeah, it's not like he picked you because he might. He might, but that's, I guess, just a chance. And if you respond to them and something starts, I just think, this is another line from Diane Keaton's movie is she said to her daughter, "What are you waiting for?" Because her daughter was so afraid of getting hurt. She didn't want to have a relationship. She didn't want to venture out. And she had just been crushed by Jack Nicholson. And then she said, "What are you waiting for? You need to get yourself out there." Yeah. You meet interesting people.
Yeah. But it takes a mindset shift. And I really appreciate that, Sara, because you've opened my eyes up to maybe how I was thinking before and how it kept me from, it's almost like a preconceived, or it's a faulty belief that I held on to, that there's no one out there for me. No one wants me.
Oh my God, Sharri.
I don't play this. I don't play that. I'm not skinny. I'm not even thin. Sometimes I think I'm boring, but that's okay. Because there's other boring people who might like the way I'm boring too. So
exactly.
I just have to say, there's so much of writing your profile and even just putting yourself out there has to do with what are you waiting for? Do you think the guy, I always said the only way I'd ever have a date is if the guy came down, he's Santa Claus and he came down the chimney.
He's not going to come knocking on your door. No. Like anything though. Like your business isn't going to come knocking on your door. Your closet isn't going to be, edited overnight. None of this stuff happens unless you take action. And so there's plenty of men. You're sophisticated.
Well,
elegant.
all of you that are sitting home right now saying, "Oh, but Sharri's on YouTube, so she must be confident enough to do this." No, none of us are. We have to shift that mindset and say it can be fun. You can meet interesting people. It may take you 40 dates to find somebody that you want to have more than one date with, but that's okay. You've met a whole lot of people in that process and, enjoyed life. Why not?
Yeah. Go to fun places and you get out. You do. I mean, there is absolutely, you just have to be prepared. There is rejection. And you just like the perfect way to think about it, which is great. It took me a while to get this because you could be having a conversation with somebody and you think everything's amazing. And then you never hear from them again. You think, okay, what did I do wrong? You immediately think, what did I do wrong? Did I say something? And I heard somewhere that rarely has anything to do with you.
Yeah.
It has to do with them. So you just have to.
Isn't that the truth? Just
be prepared for that and move on.
And in the podcast I did with Evan Marquette, and we keep talking about him, but he has lots of words of wisdom, and he's a very outspoken guy.
And direct, super direct. That's why I like him. He doesn't make it nice and soft. And
no. Actually, the podcast was a bit intimidating for me. But
I bet
I said to him, but do we really need online dating? And something about that whole online dating thing just really bothers me. And he said, Sharri, how many people, if you wanted one date a week, how many people could you get into a date with you once a week without doing online dating? Like just your regular
you bump into. Yeah.
And I'm like, zero,
yeah.
The homeless guy outside of Starbucks. Yeah. I mean, the man who, the Amazon driver.
Right.
These are the people I would have to say, would you meet me for a drink on Friday? And, forget it. So that is a shift that there's no way we can meet. We can have 40 dates by not doing online dating. And why not? So the only way you're going to find the right person that you want to spend the rest of your life with is to get out there and see what.
Test the waters.
Yeah, test the waters. Exactly. Yeah. And have fun in the process. Plus, when you go out for dinner and you dress up, you feel pretty. It's an experience, So, okay, so we're going to wrap this up.
Okay.
For all of you, Sara, unless you have some last words of wisdom that you want to share, anything?
I could talk about this for hours, but I think we're good.
Well, and also all of Sara's information will be down in the show notes because Sara can help you, even if you don't want to do the whole closet and you just want to come up with some, as Sara called them, uniforms to wear on your dates.
Yeah.
Sara's the person you want to contact. So all her information is down in the show notes. Thank you. Thank you, Sara.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
I hope I've encouraged you to do it.
Oh gosh. And I'm drinking tea. I wish we both had a glass of champagne or wine.
I know, that would be nice. I have water.
Early in the day though, and Seattle for wine. So,
exactly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your words of wisdom.
Okay. It was fun.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon, I'm sure.